Bolognese sauce, or ragu alla bolognese. It's one of the most famous dishes in the world. The recipe is authentic, right from Italy. In fact, I have an official thing here in 1982. The Accademia Italiana della Cucina officially registered this recipe with the Bologna Chamber of Commerce. This recipe we're going to show you is authentic and official one in terms of ingredients, doses, and cooking times. I had to read that because it's in Italian, so I had to translate it. Nah, I'm just joking. But this bolognese sauce, it has no aromas, no garlic, no parsley, no pepper flakes. It's bland, it's delicious. And the word ragu comes from the French word ragoûtar, which means awaken the appetite. And of course, bolognese comes from the little city of Bologna. And you know what? When I grew up, and this is my first joke, and I'll probably get a lot of hate mail for this, but I grew up about 95% Italians. And they always talk, and I said, you're full of baloney. I guess they were from the city of Bologna. I didn't know. I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. But anyway, we're going to go with that anyway. Now, a traditional bolognese sauce, you could use it with bechamel and a lasagna. Okay, we're at my cooking stove in my kitchen, and we have all the ingredients all prepared over here. I hope you can see them. So we have pancetta. Pancetta is from pork belly. It's different than bacon is because it's cured in salt. Bacon is cured in smoke. So this has a nice mild taste. So bacon could be a substitute, but this whole recipe, you can't do substitutes because this is the authentic one I'm going to show you tonight. It's like a good friend of mine down in Tennessee. He races cars. There's stock and there's modified stock and there's all kinds of different cars down there. And I think his is junkyard car now. No, I'm only joking, Brian. But this is important to follow this recipe. You probably have your own recipe, but I'm going to show you the authentic. Okay? So what we're going to do is we'll take a nice hot skillet. I love cast iron. I'm going to let it get really hot. And then I'm going to put the pancetta in. The pancetta is going to release all its fat, and it's going to have the base for the flavor of this sauce. So the pancetta is in the pot. I keep saying it's a pot. It's a pan. Pots are that high, right? Or a pot? Never mind. That was the one. So it's just going to get melted down. We're going to cook it for about 5 minutes on high. You want to watch 5 minutes, or you want to come back when it's ready? Let's watch it when it comes back. Okay, so she's cooking, and I figured I miss you guys, so I'm going to come back and just not put you on pause, because she probably doesn't even know I'm on pause, except my motions and stuff. So the pancetta is cooking, and it's 5, 6 minutes. It depends on how hot your pot is. And pancetta is one of those great foods. You can eat it raw because it's cured salt, or we can cook it and we can put it in our sauces and stocks and soups and different recipes. It's a lot milder than bacon, and it has a very pork taste. Now, a lot of recipes that came from this, people would put a pound of just pork, ground pork, and not the pancetta. And some of you folks around the world, that's probably how you cook yours. Okay, so the pancetta is not completely hard because we're going to cook it a long time later. So now we'll add about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to turn down the heat to low. And then we're going to add, we have celery. We've got about, I guess, 1.5 ounces of celery, 5 grains. We have carrots, same proportion. Cut up onions, same portion. All cut up really fine. And we'll just slide that right into the pot. You got me again. It's a pan. Okay. Using a wooden spoon, we're going to just cook that all really nice. Again, about 4 minutes, 5 minutes. It depends on how hot your pan is. Again, the carrots and the onions and the celery are cut very fine. But you got to keep stirring it. You don't want it to burn at the bottom. You don't want it to burn. Now I know I have this thing about white wine. or any wine in my recipes. This one is not going to actually be in the recipe at all. We're going to add about a half a cup of this white wine once this is ready and all cooked out, just to deglaze the pot and all that beautiful pancetta, the onions. So when we put our beef in, it'll all be deglazed and that will absorb all that beautiful flavor. Okay, so the ingredients of celery, pancetta, onions, and carrots, they've been marinating or slow cooked, getting translucent for about 5-6 minutes. We're just going to pour in some white wine, about a half a cup, and we're going to deglaze the pot, the pan. We're going to cook it all off. In 5 minutes, there'll be no wine, there'll be no residual. It's just going to marry all those flavors together. So when we add our beef, it'll all come together. Alrighty then. You know how when the wine is all cooked out, you just take your hand and you bring it over your pot or pan and smell it. If it smells like wine, you got more cooking and more simmering to do. If it doesn't smell like wine, the wine is cooked off. In that case, we're going to add the beef. Where's the beef? Right here, Dave. Right here. Again, we didn't salt or pepper this at all. We're just adding all the ingredients together and letting nature take its course to flavor it. Now I'm going to turn this down. I'm going to brown that. And I'm going to put that baby on top. Kind of protects the stove from getting so greasy. And we're going to cook that until it's brown. And then we're going to add the tomatoes. Now for the tomatoes I could use my own fresh garden, but 90% don't have a fresh garden. So it calls for tomatoes. That's it. I could have took the San Marzano tomatoes, which some recipes call for, the whole tomato, crush it in my hands, and then put it through a tomato mill or a food mill to get the seeds and the skins off. A lot of work. We're modern today. And what I have on my shelf is I have this. And I usually don't promote products, but it's such a great product. And you can get it anywhere. And it's $1.49. And just the ingredients, tomatoes. And my food mill will not give it a little texture like this. This actually has a little texture with it. And I love it. And it doesn't have to be refrigerated. You can buy 100 of them, stick them in your cabinet. It'll last forever. Okay. So the meat, we got to keep stirring it. Okay. Now you notice we're not even draining the fat off. It's not necessary because it's going to cook for so long. So now we're going to add the tomatoes. We're going to add a whole cup and a half. So this is a cup and a half, just one container. And once we mix this, we're going to put it on the back burner on low heat. Oh, that smells delicious. All right. She's all nice and mixed. Turn that burner off. We'll put the low one on. You're not getting me this time, cast iron. We're going to put that on the back burner. And we're going to put a lid on. And yes, we're going to turn the low. We'll see you in about 2.5 hours, because this takes about 2.5 hours to cook. Possibly a little, well, probably a little less because it's a small pan. It's not so great a size. We didn't cook a lot of it. So we'll see you in a little bit. While checking on my sauce, it's about a half hour into it. I notice it's drying out a little bit because I took the top off. Now, the recipe calls, if it starts drying out, to add some beef stock. And the ingredients and the measurement of this recipe, up to 1.5 cups of beef stock you can enter into the recipe. So we probably just put a couple ounces in there, and we'll keep checking, and we'll keep adding the beef stock until we have the perfect Bolognese sauce. After an hour and a half in the pot, in the pan, just getting happy, you know. I forget what they call that again. Oh, simmering. That's right, simmering. We have another ingredient to put in. Now, during this process, it got dry, so we added beef broth, and you could add water, but only beef broth and water is authentic to this recipe. So near the end, we're going to add a half a cup of whole milk, and we're going to stir that. We're going to stir that in. Now, what that does is it kind of neutralizes the acidity in the sauce. Now, the age-old argument, sugar in your sauce or no sugar in your sauce? Well, that's going to be up to you, but this recipe calls for no sugar, and to reduce the acidity, they used just milk. And see the color? Now, if you get a ragu or Bolognese, that's basically the color you get. So we're going to bring it up to a temperature where it's going to be able to boil, and then we're going to serve. In this pot, we have pappardelle. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Pappardelle egg noodles. This is one of the matches, and that's what they used in the beginning. It's an egg noodle. They made it homemade. You can buy it now. That way, it's GMO free. It's eggs. It's just absolutely delicious. You cook it al dente. Okay, we are ready to plate. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my noodles, my egg noodles, my pappardelle, my parpar. Boy, I wish I was Italian. I could pronounce this properly, but sorry about that, folks. I know it's going to be hard to listen to, but you got to get the picture when I plate it. We're going to put a little bit, and you know, I'm going to use a holy spoon. Because you notice there's not a lot of juice coming out of here, but I'm going to put that meat sauce, because what we're after is the meat, not the actual sauce. Look at that. It's kind of perfect. With that, we're going to put freshly grated Parmigiano cheese. Folks, you're talking about the original. Right there, the original Bolognese sauce. Bon appetit. We'll see you next time.